Views and opinions of any of the guests of After Hours AM are not necessarily the views and opinions of After Hours AM, its hosts, its staff, or any of its affiliates.
Welcome to the After Hours program.
Are you ready?
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Now broadcasting live from the After Hours AM studio, Joel Sturgis and Eric Olson.
Welcome to this edition, very, very special edition of After Hours AM. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, and right along with me,
Eric Olson.
Hey, Eric, man. Happy Halloween, man. Happy Halloween.
Happy
this
Halloween
Saturday.
to you. We are a mere 48 hours away from the absolute heart of the holiday. And wow, what a few days we got going on here.
Oh, it's crazy. And tonight, though, I gotta let everyone know, very special night. Number one. Extravaganza number one. You want to point your browser to the new, brand spanking new, www.america's-most-haunted- or America's-most-haunted.com, man. That is brand new. And there's a lot of dashing. It kind of got me dashing through the snow there for a second.
No, say that word.
Hey, man, we already got it here.
I know.
All right. We already got snow, so cat's out of the bag. It's snowing to beat the band. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? I mean, it's going to go away, don't get me wrong, but I kind of like it. Call me Nick Crazy, but I kind of like it. What?
Oh, no, too early.
You don't like snow?
I like snow.
Are you a snow hater?
I like snow. The better I like snow, the smaller the proportion. So,
Gotcha.
In other words, if you had like one day all year of super intense snow, I would be happiest of all with the snow. I don't like it spread over 5-6 months. That's madness. I like to be able to escape.
Wow,
that's why when I
listen
lived
to you.
in Southern California, snow-wise, it was ideal.
It was
You drive
optional.
up to the mountain, you just drive on up, and if you go up far enough, if you go way up to Mammoth, which is, it's a ways, that's a few hundred miles from L.A., but if you go up there, I mean, you can literally go almost year-round, and there is snow. I mean, other than the heart of the summer, there is snow up there. But you can always leave. That's what's so wonderful.
You know, it almost sounds like you're crying a little bit, though.
I'm not crying.
I'm just saying, I don't like the snow, gosh darn it.
I
don't want it.
I have heard, and I'm really hoping it's true, that this will be a mild winter.
That's the rumor.
Neck of the woods.
The whole Midwest, you included, is in for a mild winter because we have the same weather patterns, you and I, my friend.
Typically we do, yes.
By and large, except I'm a little colder. But anyhow.
You're a lot colder.
Well, 40 below zero, baby. But we survive. But tonight's a big night because we have both Bishop James Long on the show as well as Nick Groff from the formerly of Ghost Adventures. And that's going to be a great interview. That'll be at the top of the hour. Now, they're doing a little show, aren't they?
They are doing what is turning out to be really an amazing and very high-profile endeavor. It's called Exorcism Live, and it's basically just that on Destination America, and that is tomorrow, Friday night, at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central. And I'm not sure. They haven't really said how long it's going to go. I imagine it will be determined by what happens. But oh my God, what an A-list crew of people who are checking in on this, led by Bishop James Long, and he is performing a minor rite of exorcism on the house itself. This is the original house where the boy, it's in St. Louis, where the boy who was, by all accounts, genuinely one of the few really total, legitimate, very well documented cases of demonic possession and exorcism back in the 40s out of St. Louis. I guess originally he was in Washington, D.C., and then the family moved to St. Louis. The demon, the possession, moved with him. So that story was the foundation for the book then, the novel, The Exorcist, which obviously changed a number of items, and then the film, most notably From a Boy to a Girl. But that was the basis of that book and film. And there's been a lot of there was a documentary by
it's been everywhere. I mean, I've seen the movie, I've seen the head spin, I've seen the pea soup come out, but this is the real story, though.
This is the real.
That's creepy.
Deal.
That's even creepier.
Super, super creepy. And apparently, there's a lot of people who are involved with the broadcast who have already, who have investigated the house. Some, quite often, and that's why Nick's involved. He investigated the house when he was with Ghost Adventures, and he actually felt that some sort of dark, possibly even demonic, attachment followed him home, and it was really a big deal. That was one of the turning points, really, I think, with his relationship with the show and their way of doing things, as it were. Also, coming up tonight when we talk to Nick, he will be teasing he's got a brand new show that's going to be launching on Destination America, and he'll be giving even more information about it on the show, on Exorcism Live, tomorrow night. So
I tried.
Very exciting. People have really been wondering, what the heck is Nick Groff doing?
I tried, though, before showtime here, to pull it out of him. And he is like Fort Knox, man. He will not give me anything.
No. But he will give us, I believe, a little bit of info about the show, some tidbits about what's going to be happening when we see the show. We don't know yet when it's actually launching. I assume next year. Probably, it sounds like maybe not that long from now, but we'll find out even more details on the show, on his show, on Nick's show, tomorrow night on the live broadcast. But yeah, it's really going to be something. There's all kinds of people involved with this thing. They have Chris Jacobs, he's the host, psychic medium, very famous psychic medium. Chip Coffey is involved. As we said, Bishop James Long is actually performing the ceremony, the ritual. The Tennessee Wraith Chasers, stars of Ghost Asylum, will be there helping out. Exorcist House, which is what they call it. Expert Greg Myers, Ouija Board Authority Robert Murch, because of course it's been admitted, came out through testimony and whatnot, documentation, that the boy originally became possessed, at least almost certainly, through use of a Ouija board or a different kind of spirit board of some sort.
It'll be interesting to get his take.
Robert Murch, who's the world's leading Ouija board authority, will be on the show. And also filmmaker Christopher St. Booth, who made the documentary film, The Haunted Boy, The Secret Diary of the Exorcist. And that is about the house and about the original boy. So there'll be all kinds of stuff going on tomorrow night. We don't even know how long it's going to last, but it will be truly live, and it will be something.
It will be, and you guys are going to stick around to the top of the hour and hear what they have to say, because I think you guys will be shocked what you hear about this home and what's going to be going on. And, I know earlier I spoke to James Long about it, get ready for the show. And it was a different James Long than I'm used to hearing. Normally he's fun and jovial. He wasn't messing around when I talked to him earlier.
Game face.
He totally stoic. Totally, this is dangerous.
Dangerous.
This is not for the faint of heart. He really made all that clear to me, and I'm sure you talked to him as well before showtime. And it's really kind of one of those scary deals. But, I guess It's viewer beware, though. If you are frightened of these kinds of things very easily, it might not be your cup of tea.
Well, remember, the key is this is the real thing.
Yes. Yes, it is. Absolutely the real deal, but you're going to hear all about that top of the hour. But, I was sitting in the office today doing some work, getting ready for the show, and a good friend of mine happens to work for ABC News, and that's right, we're a Fox station, so don't hate on us too much, Fox. But ABC News, did you know that there is a Conjuring lawsuit?
I have heard that, but please tell us more.
Well, I'll do you one better. I will play the audio that was sent to me, courtesy of Good Morning America and ABC News. Listen to this madness.
For the owners of this rural Rhode Island farmhouse, the trouble started with the 2013 horror movie The Conjuring, about a pair of real-life ghost hunters
We prefer to be known simply as Ed and Lorraine Warren.
investigating evil spirits tormenting Andrea Perrin and her family. The film supposedly based on true events. The filmmakers shot at a different house, but used Perrin's real name and the name of the town. And ever since the movie came out, the new owners of the farmhouse say they've been haunted, not by poltergeists, but by horror fans and curiosity seekers.
We heard about this place from the movie.
Just wanted to take pictures from the road.
Now the homeowners have filed suit, claiming while the makers of The Conjuring have profited enormously from the film, they received nothing but a Conjuring-instigated siege of their property. Speaking to Inside Edition, they said,
If it needs this type of publicity, if it needs a lawsuit to get this out, that is really my main goal, is to get it out that this stuff is made up and take the stigma off this house.
We reached out to the studio, who said they hadn't seen the lawsuit, but it's out there. You better believe it. For Good Morning America, David Wright, ABC News.
Again, that is courtesy of ABC News and Good Morning America. The audio was sent to me by them. And, wow, man, I mean, can you imagine buying a home that was featured on a movie, of course, and then having the people just flock to your home and not leave you alone?
That would be annoying. There is no doubt about it. I'm not sure if they really have grounds for a lawsuit. I suppose it's the
trespassing. I mean, for sure.
The angle of giving out too much information, I suppose, regarding their location and all that. But I mean, does that mean that any house or any location that's ever been mentioned, or where a film is ostensibly set, either where it's actually filmed or at least they're pretending that it's filming there? I mean, should every one of those be subject to lawsuit? I'm not sure. But on the other hand, hey, I'm sure it's very annoying having people poking around all the damn time.
Well, I wouldn't want people poking around. I mean, they made it clear in the audio that's private property.
Yeah, well, sure it is. But, that's the other thing is, people can certainly look from the street. I don't think there's anything against that. But, yeah, certainly people should not be trespassing on private property. That, I would think, goes without saying. But, common sense is not always what
it's not so common anymore.
Carries the day, as it were.
Unfortunately, that is so true. It's not so common anymore.
I don't know if it ever was.
Probably not. Now, I'm
not one of these guys who looks back to the good old days.
Well, I've worked for a very long time, and I got that about you. You're not exactly a happy days kind of guy. You keep it real. You keep it here.
In some ways, the world has always sucked.
Well, this is true.
And it always will suck.
Wow.
I choose to be something of a, broadly speaking, an optimist, and I do see kind of the line of time.
Are you like Eeyore off air? Or you're like, oh my God.
I'm an optimist. I see the line of time. I see that arrow gently moving up throughout all of human history.
Yeah, I mean, you're
gradually get a little better. They get a little better forever and ever and ever, and amen.
Now, you're a bit older than I am.
A bit.
A bit. I'll be charitable and say a bit. Were people smarter way back when than they are now, or at least more considerate back then than they are today?
overtly, probably so. People were probably more polite because there was probably stronger social pressure, in real life, face to face. And in the olden days, back when I was a child, when dinosaurs ruled the earth, then most communication was face to face. I mean, obviously, it's not like we didn't have TV or radio or telephones. We did. But there was a lot more face to face as opposed to today.
Yes.
Where you have social media, where you have cell phones, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure.
All the ubiquitous technology. So
Well, but they've made our lives better, the technologies. In my opinion, they have.
In some ways, sure. I mean, see, that's my opinion on all this stuff. You can't look at it. I think it is legitimate. It's fine to look at the big picture, the meta picture. The big arc, the big arrow of history. That's legitimate. But when you start narrowing it down and looking at individual elements, I see things go, it's not a straight line. There's a lot of different ups and downs. Some things are better, some things are worse, right?
I guess I get where you're coming from on that.
Every development leads to aspects of it make life better, and aspects of it make life worse.
Back in my day.
Unintended consequences.
I'm waiting for you to say back in my day, but I know you're not going to. But you're right, though. You're right, though. It really does have the yin and the yang, the consequences, the good, the bad. Now, if your show, I mean, the other places that have been featured in movies that are allegedly haunted, like Amityville Horror, that's a great one. They've had nothing but trespassers.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, if your location, whatever it may be, if it's a home or some sort of building, and I think that's what a lot of these haunted locations, quote unquote, have learned. Well, you can't fight City Hall. You might as well just give into it and publicize it. But of course, you're not going to do that with your own home. That's a whole different story. If you have a public or semi-public location, it's a lot easier to go, all right, screw it. People are coming. We can't keep them away.
Let's capitalize.
Let's just market it.
Yeah.
Let's capitalize.
I would 110% agree with you. When you buy that home and it's been featured on a blockbuster film, I think you should know as the new homeowner what kind of attention you may receive, though, at the same time.
Yeah, and I don't know. Are they claiming they were unaware? I don't know. Maybe they were not aware.
Well, what they're claiming is they're sick of people on their property, A, and B, that whole, just because it was in the movie doesn't mean it was real. That whole thing,
Right.
It's that whole buyer beware. I mean, would I buy a home that I knew that everyone and their mother would want to come to and look at? Oh, hell yeah. And then I would charge ticket prices.
Exactly. I mean, don't look a gift horse in the mouth.
That's right. I would retire.
I mean, on the serious side, sure. If it's your private home, you have no desire to disrupt your private life. If you wish for your private life to remain private, then yes, this is a big pain. And if they were aware, how long have they owned the place?
I didn't catch that in the audio clip, but I know it hasn't been very long, like maybe a year and a half.
See, they should have known. They're dumb.
Yes, their realtor should have said, hey, and by the way, if you're not a horror fan, I have to let you know that this house was featured in a blockbuster motion picture, just so you know.
Exactly. And the home, we are not pretending it's something that it's not. And this location will very likely be ferreted out by fans. So, yes, buyer beware. If they did not do that, then that's a problem. But if they did do that, then it's the buyer's fault. This is their problem. Just because they don't like the consequences of it doesn't mean it's someone else's fault.
That's right. Don't buy it if you're not willing to have people come look at it. That's just the way it is. That's just how it is, and that's the way it is. And, I don't know. I think these people are a little bit on the crabby side. I think they should embrace their new home for what it is.
Well, love it or shove it, I always say.
Love it or shove it. I like them to use that. Hey, guys, love it or shove it. That's going to be the new mantra.
Because it rhymes.
That's right. That's the thing of it is like we just said, buyer beware. Like I just bought a house the other day. Old house, built in 1900, has a lot of history to it. A few deaths on the property. I knew that going into it because I did my research, my due diligence on the property. But come on, it's like buying a piece of history. Yeah, I mean, it really is. It's kind of be cool to live there. But anyhow, your realtor goes through all these things with you if you ask him to.
Well, yes, and it depends on the law of the state. There are states where things of that nature, hauntings, deaths, if they're within a certain time frame, they're required. I think there's more that aren't. More states where it's not required, but there are some where it is.
My state is not required.
A distressed property, I think they call it.
Yeah, my state's not required. I just happened to get into conversation with the realtor that, born and raised, the older guy, he was always up here, where I live. He's a townie, great guy, a townie, so he knows a lot about the history of the area, and it was kind of cool what he had to say. And so, if it's haunted, like people tell me it is, we'll give it a try. What's the worst that can happen?
I don't know, demonic possession.
Well, if I move in and someone says
your own TV show on Destination America,
exactly. But if I move in and I'm in there and I hear "Get out," I'm leaving. I'm just telling everyone right now. I'm packing. I'm going. All right. I'm not gonna hang around.
You got a deal.
Yeah. Exactly.
You can leave.
Yes.
You can afford to bag out of there.
Yes, I'll sell it to the next guy, or I'll rent it out. Better yet, I'll rent it out some guinea pigs.
Yeah, well, rent it out to paranormal investigators.
Exactly. Who knows? Maybe I'll have the next.
Love that stuff.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe I'll have the next Sally house in my hands. I'm just kidding, of course. I would not want that. But anyhow, did you happen to catch on TV the hunt for the Bell Witch? On, I do believe it was. Oh, what was the boy? It is. Did you catch it though? I'm trying to think of the channel. It was.
I remember promoting it. I definitely tweeted and Facebook.
Yeah, I happened to catch us.
But it was on as well. But no, I missed the actual show.
I was surfing, channel surfing the other night, and that's why I had to stop for a second. Remember what channel it was on. And these individuals, he is a generation way down the line of John Bell. And he's trying to figure out why the Bell Witch killed him and the truth behind it. But the spin is they're investigating these locations.
Very cool. They have a huge festival every year in that town.
I heard that, but they
celebrate the Bell Witch.
I don't know if I'd be doing that. I don't know if I would be celebrating the Bell Witch personally. I mean, that's just me. But boy, that's really one of those playing with the fire deals, isn't it?
It seems like it.
Because it seemed like.
Although we are talking, 2 centuries ago.
Well, I know, but it seemed like the people today on the television show were even reluctant to this day to talk about the Bell Witch.
Well, it is one of those really iconic cases. It's one of the few, like the exorcism case we talked about, that's generally considered one of the best documented. Lots and lots of people involved, lots of witnesses, and the events took place over decades or long period of time. So it's theoretically the real deal, and that is not something you want to mess with.
Well, what do you think?
From what I've read, and I actually just picked up a book on it. I was doing Halloween book shopping at good old half-price books. Do you have half-price books up there in Minnesota?
Well, yeah, I think we do, about 4 hours south of us. By the way, if you're looking for a book for that significant other or yourself, you could do a lot worse to get America's Most Haunted.
That would be a fine one to pick up. But yes, I picked up. Let me grab it. It's right here. I will tell you about this book because I'm guessing it had something to do with this show, at least providing background. It is called The Bell Witch: An American Haunting by Brent Monahan. And so I haven't read it yet, but I am absolutely going to. It is again, it's a fascinating case. It's very well documented, and there appears to be anyway, something to it. obviously, the farther back in time you go, the harder it is to really document things and to come up with actual objective evidence. But in this case, there certainly does seem to be something to it.
Well, we even had a United States president vouch for it. Andrew Jackson.
Yes.
He came and brushed with it. He wrote about it. And this was a president, or not at this time, but in the future, he'd become a sitting president of the United States. So, I mean, why would he lie?
Good old Andrew Jackson. Yep. He brought in all his barefoot, muddy-shoed pals into the White House, and they stomped all over the place.
Well, they should do that. Come on. Give it some character. but as far as, like, it's any worse than what's taken place there since. Come on.
He was a man of the people, shall we say.
That's right. Hey, I'd rather have a man of the people in there than a man that likes to go in the Oval Office, if you know what I'm saying, with some cigars. I'm just saying.
Oh, I don't know. Cigar, Oval Office, female friends. That has been going on for a long
time.
That
but
goes way back, way before the 90s.
Yes, way before the 90s. I happen to remember something about Marilyn Monroe, when I was growing up.
And many, many others.
But anyhow, getting back to the story of the bill, which I tend to think that it's real. I think that there's some, at least, reality to it, where it might have happened, just because it's entirely too well documented.
Very well documented. Again, there's many people involved. It's like any of the shows, the paranormal shows, especially the recreation ones. The stories they want, the people they want. They want cases where there are multiple people involved, multiple witnesses, and while those multiple witnesses may have their own point of view, they're corroborating on the basic facts. That's what, Paranormal Witness or a haunting or whatever.
Sure.
Any of the shows, especially the ones that do recreations. So that's the kind of story they want. So that's the kind of story this is. There are many people involved. It occurred over generations. And, aspects of it at least appear to have been well documented.
Well,
so I agree with you. If there are any real life cases involving witchcraft and haunting and spells and curses, if any of that is real, which, I guess I'm leaning that at least some of it is, this would appear to be a legit, genuine case.
Would I go walking around the Bell Witch area and go, here, Bell, hey, witch, come on, get over here?
Yeah,
no.
witchy.
No, I would not be calling
Come on,
that. No.
show me what you can do.
Yeah.
I'm provoking your ass.
I'm provoking your ass. Let me bust a cap in your mythical ass. Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah. No, I'm good. I'm good.
From time to time.
I would not go that route, personally. I mean, just because she only killed somebody already.
Well, A, it's stupid, and B, it's disrespectful. If the entity in question, isn't utterly heinous, it is disrespectful.
Yes, it is. I like it, though, when you watch a paranormal show, and they are provoking. Scratch me if you're big and bad and tough. And then they scratch them, they run away like schoolgirls. I love that.
He scratched me. Oh.
He scratched me. Oh, no.
Dare you? Well, you told me to.
Don't you love that, though?
I like it when you hear the spirit say, you told me to.
Yeah, you told me to scratch you, so I did. What do you want?
It's all your fault.
I'm just trying to play nice.
Check this out. I can't believe it. We're already at the half hour.
Yes, we got to go to break here in about a minute, man. And we got to pay some bills. And we'll come back, though, with your America's Most Haunted headlines, as well as we got to talk a little Walking Dead. My gosh, people have been all over me this week.
Man, did you see the first thing I wrote Monday morning was talking about Glenn's death.
My God.
I hadn't looked at anything else. I hadn't looked at any social media. I hadn't read any of the recaps. So I write it, and it's all from the perspective of, wow, how could they have done that, and what does that mean? And then all anyone is talking about is, it's not going to be real anyway.
If I had, I must have got 100 emails this week. What do you think about The Walking Dead and Glenn dead? Well, I don't know. It's a television show. Who knows?
He's not really dead. He's an actor.
We know who shot JR, so that's all that matters. But we'll be right back right after this.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If pop culture is to be believed, roughly 40% of all people are actually vampires, or dating one. Well, undead or not, you can always save on a clean, comfortable room at Motel 6, even if you sleep during the day because direct sunlight turns you into a pile of sparkly coffee grounds. Speaking of which, we have free coffee every morning. You day sleepers may want to go for the decaf. I'm Tom Bodette, and we'll leave the light on for you. Book online at motel6.com.
In 1999, The Exorcist was voted the scariest movie of all time.
Your daughter doesn't say she's a demon. She says she's the devil himself.
Entertainment Weekly calls it the most viscerally harrowing movie ever made.
That thing upstairs isn't my daughter.
The most electrifying movie of the 20th century is now coming back to theaters.
Where's Reagan?
In here with us.
Author William Peter Blatty and director William Friedkin have created an expanded, thrilling new version of The Exorcist with footage that has never been seen before.
She needs a priest.
Don't miss The Exorcist in the version you've never seen. Possessing theaters everywhere. Rated R, under 17, not admitted without parent.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes two. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Please, Lord, help me to release this demon!
And we are back. Welcome back to After Hours AM. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me is
Eric.
Eric, man, we got to talk a little Walking Dead. I would say every third email this week to me was, what do you think about The Walking Dead? All right, normally, people, first off, if you're old enough to remember the hysteria that happened with Who Shot JR, you've already seen this coming down the pipe before in TV history. So there's going to be a curveball, in my opinion, before we're done. But that being said, man, I was floored at the level of outrage of some people.
Well, outrage and intensity of scrutiny. Do you realize people have taken apart those few seconds of
yes.
Film, or video, or whatever the hell it is, and they have gone over it and over it from every possible angle, trying to figure out, is that Glenn's body being torn apart by ravenous walkers, or is that the dreaded Nicholas Patooey spit on the ground, no love lost, get him out of my face. He's been on too long. That's my opinion about it.
Wow.
So is it his body laying on top of Glenn that is being ripped apart, which would allow Glenn to escape? There are other elements. Have you heard the theory about the empty gun? Have you heard that?
No, I haven't. That's a new theory. I ever heard the new theory of the empty gun.
All right, so, and again, this comes from very close reading of the actual footage. All right, if you watch Nicholas, this is just before, I believe, they climb up onto the fateful dumpster. There's a sound. You hear 2 clicks. He's holding his gun. It appears he is pulling the trigger twice.
Okay.
You hear clicks.
Okay.
Not the gun going off, i.e., the gun is empty. So how could he shoot himself in the head on the dumpster if he's empty?
Could it be the sound stage got the wrong sound put in there?
It could be.
I mean,
when you look that close, sure, you're going to find some continuity issues.
Some people need, and I love all of our listeners. I do. I love these people, Eric. I love these people. But some of them...
like your brother.
Yeah, exactly. So this comes from a place of love. Get a life, please.
Yeah. So check this out. Here's my the timeline for what happened. All right. So I watched it, right, and my wife and I always watch it fairly late. We never watch it live. We always watch it on delay, but almost always the same night. That one. There's other shows we never get around to.
Oh, you know what I thought about doing, though? I'm going to stop you. I thought about going directly to Facebook and doing a spoiler.
Wow.
Right after. But then I thought people would murder me. They would seek me out.
They would.
And they would kill me. I mean, I'm just saying.
All right, so check this out. We're watching the show. We all know how it ends. It ends with this brutal, terrible scene. Glenn, Nicholas, cornered by hordes of walkers, nowhere to go. They end up on top of a dumpster. They're surrounded. They're backed up against a chain link fence. Nicholas says, thank you, after Glenn finally gets his attention when he's spacing out. He's having another one of his spazzy episodes. So yeah. Glenn gets his attention, snap out of it. Nicholas says, thank you, blows his own brains out. He falls into Glenn, knocking Glenn also off of the dumpster. They both land on the ground and appear to be mutually devoured.
This has been scrutinized more than the JFK assassination film.
Well, in the time available, in other words, less than a week, that may be true. So anyway, I have this on my mind, right? Turn off the TV. We didn't watch anything else. We didn't even really talk. We just went to sleep. Mm-hmm. So all night long, the ramification of this, it never even occurred to me at that point that there could be anything other than what it appeared. I had no idea there was all this speculation going on. I wasn't looking at social media. I went right to sleep. I get up the next morning. I've relearned, I got to write an article, something new, something different, right when I get up and get going. Because if I start doing all my other stuff, I just get wrapped up in it. I get worn out. Yep. The ideas go away, and I just don't get around to doing it. So first thing I did, again, before looking at anything, not checking email, not checking social media, I write up this article, and it's basically, go right now. It's on America's Most Haunted, dated Monday. The Walking Dead cannibalizes itself again. Another major heroic character is done away with. And basically the whole thing is an ode to Glenn. Think how dumb I felt after it's done and after the article's done and published, and all anyone's talking about is Glenn may not really be dead.
Oh, if he's dead, he's dead. If he's not, he's not. I thought if they're going to do away with a major character, in the back of my head, for whatever reason, and call me crazy, I thought they'd do away with Daryl.
That would be, I think, at this point, too bold. I don't think they're willing to go that far.
That would be serious suicide. I mean, that would be very, very hard to do for them at this point.
People, especially women, but not only women, but especially women, people are nuts about that character.
And, before Norman Reedus got The Walking Dead.
Actor.
Yeah, well, before he got The Walking Dead thing, he was an all-right actor. Would I put him in my top 100? No. I thought Boondock Saints was good.
I recognized him. I knew he had been on one of the Blade movies, and I knew he was in Boondock Saints.
That was it. That's all I knew about the guy.
That's all I knew.
But they've gone crazy all week about Glenn. I did shoot an email because I know Greg Nicotero. I did email him going, well done. You got the bee's nest, going now, but we'll have to see if he gets back to us because I did shoot an invite for him to come and talk to us about this.
That would be amazing. Wow, that would be quite the show because he is much in demand and, talk about a behind-the-scenes guy who's become a star.
Yeah, because he was doing gore work for George Romero. Long time ago.
Forever,
yeah, he was just kind of there, he would be the guy you kind of talk to if you couldn't get George once in a while, that whole deal. But now his career's taken off, and God bless him, he's a great guy.
Exploded. Well, he's not just the zombie designer, he's a director, too.
Yes.
On this show.
Yes,
so,
but
so listen to how pathetic my ending was to that article. We salute you, Glenn Rhee, an able and admirable man. Songs of your heroism will be sung, and your loss will be felt more deeply than most.
Wow, it's like you're eulogizing a close friend.
I absolutely was. I felt terrible about it.
Well,
and after the fact, I find out I'm a dumbass.
Well, those moments of clarity do happen once in a while, especially after that kind of thing goes down. But who can blame you? Who can blame you?
I don't blame me.
No.
I was very sincere, and it was very heartfelt, and it was just turned out to be very redundant.
It's all good, my friend. It's all good. Everybody go to America's-Most-Haunted.com. Check everything out over there, including this article. Make sure you check out all the past shows of After Hours AM.
Excited. I'm telling you about the new site. We got all kinds of things going on. Allow me to give you a few tidbits here.
Yes, I was just about to say.
I was gone all day. I had to drive 200 miles each way.
Wow.
My Cleveland area home down to Springfield, Ohio, where my alma mater, Wittenberg University, is. And I spoke today, and I gave my talk, a version of my talk on music and the paranormal. And it was really fun to be down there and, hobnobbing with the kids and with the administrators and whatnot. Always great to go back. Had a great time, lots of fun. But I wrote up kind of a shorter version, not a lot of details of it, but just to get the nuts and bolts of it. In case you're interested in having me come and speak at your event, you can find out what it's all about with music and the paranormal and what the various aspects of that are. So that's an article that I wrote about. Also, completely separately, though not really, is because included within the talk on music and the paranormal is, of course, the 27 Club. Well, I wrote a separate article for Cleveland.com. That's the Cleveland Plain Dealers website here, the biggest website, news site in Ohio, Cleveland.com, and I wrote an article about the 27 Club.
I've covered that many times, and
we have.
Oh my gosh, and we've looked into it in depth with a couple of guests on the show, as well as yourself. It's just crazy, all these rock stars kicking it at 27. And what's really odd is you're right. Ghosts dig tunes. They love music.
I boiled it down, didn't I?
You really did. Ghosts dig tunes. I mean, really, they do. I mean, that's one of the primal things that we all share is we all enjoy music, right? Most of us. I shouldn't say all, but most. Enjoy music.
Right. Not all. There are those who don't. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know what rock they're living under, but, it is.
What the heck is with them?
Yeah,
but it's music is considered by many to be the most primal, archetypal, fundamental art. and it strikes the human soul, the human psyche, the most deeply. So, and it sticks in the memory. Think about it. You think when you hear a song from some really significant time or event that is associated in your mind with a significant time or a person or an event in your life, when you hear that song, those memories are immediately conjured up.
Yes. Yes, they are.
Imagine what it's like for a ghost when really all you are is memories.
Oh,
so
that's
how
harsh.
important music could be.
Yeah, that's good. Oh, yeah. You're absolutely correct. We bring it to that kind of terms. Absolutely. I mean, that's all you are is a memory. So music would definitely impact you the hardest. For real.
Plus there's that, the vibrational level in that one of the theories about ghosts or spirit entities is that they exist on a certain vibrational level. And sometimes that level of vibration is something that humans can pick up, and lots of times it's not. So it could be that there are some parallels between music, which is obviously energy and vibrational, and between the energy, spirit energy of ghosts. So there can be parallels in that regard as well. Plus, there's also just lots and lots and lots of specific reported instances, which we cover, actually several of which in the America's Most Haunted book, of music having a direct relationship, either conjuring or a spirit is associated with creating music.
Man, I could tell you some ghost stories about music in the station, though.
Tell one.
Like when I used to be an overnight DJ at a little station in northern Minnesota here, and I won't give its call letters out because, quite honestly, I didn't like them. Okay, I don't like you enough to give out your call letters. But for some odd reason, and bear in mind, this radio station was directly across the street. In fact, I could watch it from my studio. A cemetery. Ooh. I could look right out there while I'm on air. Big bay window right in front of me with the cemetery sitting there. And for whatever reason, there were three really... I don't know if it's frequency or what it is about these bands, but they kind of went real deep. And whenever I'd play, like, Led Zeppelin was one of them, The Doors was one of them, and oddly enough, Bob Dylan. Whenever I would play these types of music, I imagine because maybe the bass is so heavily used in this music, but it's almost like something that would stir a bit in that station. That station's flipping haunted, man. I mean, haunted. It's crazy haunted. But it was just weird because I knew that once I put these songs on, because this is back in the day where it was CDs. It was in the 90s. It was CDs, but see, we'd play it. I mean, we'd listen to it right along with everybody. It was weird.
The computer.
No, sir. It was not the computers. I had to put a CD in and track it to that, do the whole thing. It was great times. It really was. Golden age of radio, really. But I would play these specific types of songs by these artists, and it wasn't just these artists, but these are the three that stick out my head. It would prompt activity in that building. I would hear crap going on downstairs and in sales, especially downstairs where they were selling radio sales. It was like someone was milling around down there. Only during this time, though. It was really weird.
Creepy. I'll tell you, radio stations at night when you're there alone, and I've done it, man. I've done the overnight many times. That is creepy as hell.
It is creepy. I don't know why, though. I don't know why it's so creepy. I mean, I never could figure that out. Is it just our own mind? Is it maybe to some extent because we're around all this high-powered equipment, especially in transmitter rooms, is it the EMF?
That is a great point. I had not thought about that before. I was thinking more kind of that really is a good point. It could absolutely be an explanation. Absolutely no question about that, because very clearly there is no doubt high EMFs just mess with people, and some people more than others, but I think it messes with everyone, at least some. So that's a good point. I was thinking more kind of from the sociological standpoint, where you're there by yourself. So that it's weird. You're alone, and yet electronically you're with thousands, tens of thousands.
Oh yeah, it's just creepy though. It takes
of people.
Anyone that's listening that wants to try their hand at radio, get a job at your local radio station if you still can. Oh my gosh, most of these places are fed now by automation. But if you can, there's nothing like that 2 a.m. spinning the discs away, and having that eerie feeling. And I've always thought maybe it was the EMF, because when you go in that transmitter room, even at a small station, even at 50,000 watt, you like my phone, my cell phone would automatically shut off when I get too close to that stuff. It was just like overload for the machine. It shut right down.
Right. Well,
So,
I'm sure that's what it was.
you know, what is it doing to our own brains?
You know, I mean, of course, and that's why, you know, there's all kinds of weird anomalies associated with people who live near power lines. I mean, it only makes sense if you think about it.
Yeah, and so I brought, for fun, back in these days, because this station was old. I mean, like, Jesus might have heard his first song on the station. I mean, that's how old the station is. Joke, of course. But I went there with an EMF detector. The whole building redlined.
Wow.
Everywhere I went, redline. It didn't matter what nook or cranny I went in this station. Redlined EMF.
That is not healthy.
No, thank God there's insulators now.
Yeah,
There's EMF insulators. There's all sorts of new technology to save us from, well, eating all this EMF all day.
Hallucinations, depression, physical, anomalies. There's all kinds of things that can come from really high EMF.
Now,
again, it only makes sense. You're talking about high energy levels that are in the air and invading your body.
Now, do you think, Eric, in that line of work, my line of work, your line of work, in radio, do you think that is the cause? Because we've had a real problem lately in radio of suicides. Has been a real problem amongst radio personalities.
It sure doesn't help. I'm guessing it could be a factor. It would be worth investigating, certainly, where these things have happened, and do just simple readings and see what the levels are. And, you know, there are people, again, who are much more impacted by them than others. I imagine there's people who are only marginally affected, but others are really, really strongly affected. And if you had someone who, you know, leaned toward depression, who had emotional issues, or was facing something particularly difficult at a given point in time, you know, we can all have emotional issues. It doesn't matter if it's something that's, you know, long-term or inherent or not. So, yeah, I mean, it absolutely could be a factor. Another thing, though, is I think, again, it's kind of the weird dichotomy between the solitary nature, especially if you're in the overnight. You know, if you're there in the daytime, you got all the office people, the salespeople, and people running around. That's a whole different thing. It's just like kind of like any other office. But if you're there at night, you're literally communicating by yourself. You're this solitary entity communicating with X number of invisible people. And I think that can really mess with some people's minds.
It used to mess with me. I mean, I remember doing that and talking to myself and spinning the records and getting that crazy 3 a.m. call from the guy that thought it was the pizza joint. You know what I mean? Just that weird, or people calling in to threaten you.
You know,
I've had that happen too.
The line of work, among the various kind of broad disciplines of work, entertainment business tends to draw people with a lot of emotional or psychological issues. You know, a lot of entertainers only feel comfortable, only feel like themselves when they're performing.
Well, that's a good point. I only truly feel myself when I'm behind the microphone.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly feel like a very comfortable version of myself when I'm on radio, when I'm speaking. I enjoy being in front of a live audience in person as well. You know, I play in a band, and I do public speaking and whatnot, and it's different. I like that. It's a different form of it. There is something always in the back of my mind that is both very comfortable, but also seems a little odd.
Yes.
To be sitting in a room somewhere, and I'm just in my office. You know, we're communicating via Skype and telephone.
Yeah.
And there's a cat here, sitting here, and if I walk downstairs, you know, my wife and kids,
Sure.
whatever. And yet here we are talking to tens or hundreds of thousands of people. You know,
Yep.
and with the podcast aspect, with the recorded aspect, our words can be heard for years to come.
Yes, they can, and that's a really good thing and sometimes a bad thing, too, especially when you've done a show 5 years ago and someone says, I really didn't like that show very much. And you're trying to think back. What show was that he was talking about? What one was that, man? That was 15 years ago. You're over here at this radio station. I didn't like what you said. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, you better be. But, yeah, that happens once in a while. And every radio station ever worked at, though, had the ghost, had their resident spirit.
You got it, yes. And whether it's really there or not, and you're right. It may be that some of this stems from the that aspect, from the EMF aspect, or some other physical, electronic aspect. That is a possibility. Hey, since we're running out of time here before the top of the hour and our amazing guests, and we're not going to get to the Twitter feed, let's just tell people about it. Anytime you want paranormal news, updates, images, multimedia, fun, and info on the paranormal world, both the media world and the real life world, just check out the America's Most Haunted Twitter or Facebook feeds, and they're both under AM Haunted. But now, as of this week, we are back in the groove with our relaunched new brand. It looks great. Very excited about it. We say thank you to our friends at Anavar, who we will be telling you about in the near future, the ones who did this for us. Anavar right here in Kent, Ohio. And so it's America's-most-haunted.com. And among the stories that we were able to put up this week, obviously we did a preview of tonight's show. We already talked about music and the paranormal. I got to be a guest on the Lineups October podcast.
Well, how did that go?
Oh, it was really fun. They did a great job. It's all heavily produced. There's music behind it. It's basically me telling my story of the high school Halloween band party wherein my life was saved.
By a phantom.
Yeah. So
the
then,
phantom of the gym.
Yeah, exactly. So it was really fun to do, and I appreciate it. So we got to give a little plug to our new content sharing partners at The Lineup. We will be sharing content with them, and they with us. So we are making partnerships. We are moving.
We are
very quickly.
We are.
mentioned the Walking Dead story. We talked about the Scream Queens, had a big live event with a number of the cast and Ryan Murphy himself in New York last Saturday. And we talk about Dark Disney. How many people really sit and think about how much the supernatural impacted the worldview and therefore the entertainment products of Walt Disney? I'm talking about Walt himself, not just the company.
He's an interesting guy. If you read what he really had going on, he's a very interesting guy. Very interesting. Kind of creepy in some aspects.
Creepy in some aspects. Absolutely. Fascinating.
Yes, it is. So you're going to want to go all the way over there. Definitely want to check out America's-most-haunted.com. And don't worry, if you go to afterhoursam.com, as most of you already know, it redirects you right to my new home, our new home, where America's Most Haunted, After Hours AM, are one brand.
A single united brand.
Juggernaut.
Much larger than the sum of its parts.
Excuse me, I didn't mean to cough there because I'm trying to stop myself from laughing. Sorry, folks, because the way he said much larger than the sum of it, my gosh, man, you did that really well.
Thank you. I have many voices I have not even busted out yet.
Haven't even busted out. Yeah, okay.
No, they live within me.
Well, that being said, everybody they live with. That's a whole nother show, man. They make pills for that.
They do.
All right, we got to get out of here.
I take them, and sometimes I don't.
Well, that's good. Well, hopefully you take them more than you don't. Well, anyhow, it's a whole nother show. We got to play your Fox News. We come back. We're going to have Bishop James Long, Nick Groff. It's going to be awesome. You're not going to want to go anywhere. Be right back right after this.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lisa Brady. The new House Speaker says the House is broken.
We're not solving problems. We're adding to them.
But Speaker Paul Ryan says he's not interested in laying blame. Fox News Radio's Rachel Sutherland live in Washington.
After he was chosen to lead the House, Speaker Ryan called on lawmakers to band together, saying it's time to wipe the slate clean.
We should not hide our disagreements. We should embrace them.
President Obama called Ryan yesterday to congratulate him on his new leadership position. Today, White House spokesman Josh Earnest said the president's hopeful he'll be able to work with Ryan.
For anything to make its way through the legislative process, it's going to have to be bipartisan.
One of Ryan's first challenges will be working on a long-term highway spending bill. Lisa.
Thanks, Rachel. No official word yet on what caused a charter plane to catch fire on the tarmac at Fort Lauderdale today. Another pilot thinks he saw fuel leaking. There are injuries described as minor. A news conference set for this hour. A single-engine plane goes down in a rural residential neighborhood northwest of Little Rock, Arkansas. 4 people killed. They were all on the plane, which crashed shortly after takeoff. The White House insisting the president and the defense chief are on the same page about the ISIS mission after recent Pentagon talk of combat, though it isn't technically a ground combat mission.
The president has told his team that they need to be continually assessing our strategy.
And on Syria, White House spokesman Josh Earnest defending the decision to let Iran join international talks.
The Assad regime for years has been resisting a political transition, and the question now is, are the Iranians willing to use their influence over the Assad regime to compel them to engage in this discussion constructively?
Iran, at Russia's invitation, will be at the table tomorrow in Vienna, where a smaller group of nations, including Secretary of State John Kerry for the U.S., are already meeting today. You're listening to Fox News Radio, fair and balanced. Family and fellow officers are now in mourning, a week after a police officer was shot in New Mexico.
Daniel Webster had been on life support for a week, his wife, a sheriff's deputy, by his side. But the Albuquerque officer died early Thursday. The community had been coming forward to help the family.
A lady who wanted to remain anonymous walked into one of our substations and left $800.
Police Chief Gordon Eden. Webster was shot in the face and chest last week after pulling over a motorcyclist with a stolen license plate. The accused gunman, Devon Lyman, was captured hours later, hiding in a yard with a handcuff still on one wrist. Webster was 47 with 3 children, now adults from a previous marriage. Dave Anthony, Fox News Radio.
Prosecutors are asking a judge to sentence a graduate of an elite New Hampshire prep school to between 3.5 and 7 years in prison for using a computer to lure a younger classmate to a nearly deserted school building where he sexually assaulted her. The trial of 20-year-old Owen Labrie of Vermont exposed a practice of sexual conquest at the school in which graduating students try to have sex with underclassmen. Labrie also facing life on the state's sexual offender registry. A federal judge just ordering a risk assessment of all sex offenders in Minnesota's civil confinement program, aiming to fix problems with indefinite detentions ruled unconstitutional. A celebrity dog has died.
Tillman, a skateboarding bulldog, became famous in 2007 when his owner posted a video on YouTube. Ron Davis says he never could get Tillman to do normal dog tricks, but he liked kicking around on a skateboard. He was in a commercial in the Guinness World Record book. Tillman died on the way to a pet hospital with a diseased heart muscle, 10 years old. His owner calls him a brother and a friend. Chris Foster, Fox News Radio.
Hour to the close, the Dow's down 47 points. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News Radio.
Welcome back to After Hours AM, the only show that scares you, makes you run, and yeah, piddle your pants just once in a while. And tonight, that is no exception. Eric, as always, I'm Joe Sturgis, your host, and Eric Olson. I'm just giddy with excitement who we're talking to tonight. So excuse the jump right into it. But Eric, who are we talking to tonight, man?
Wow, it's massive. It's massively massive, and it just shows, boy, Destination America has taken over the mantle of paranormal programming with this bold Exorcism Live program. We are speaking with Bishop James Long, who is the presiding Archbishop of the United States Old Catholic Church. Bishop Long knew at 5 years old that he wanted to be a priest. By the age of 9, he also knew he was called to study demonology. That is a tender age to be dealing with demons.
That is. I was still playing with He-Man dolls and contemplating the fate of the universe.
Well, I don't even want to think about what I was doing because it's too far back in the distant past when dinosaurs ruled the earth.
That is true.
He began to study anything he could on the subject. After years of studying for the Roman Catholic priesthood, Bishop Long felt that God was calling him to the United States Old Catholic Church, where he currently serves as the presiding bishop, as well as exorcist. Bishop Long has performed 27 documented solemn rite of exorcisms on people possessed by demonic entities and hundreds of minor rite of exorcisms on demonic entities who have infested a home or building. It is the minor rite that he will be performing on the Exorcist House during Exorcism Live, which is, again, tomorrow night live on Destination America. He's the author of Through the Eyes of an Exorcist and the founder of the Paranormal Clergy Institute, created to help homeowners and paranormal groups by providing information that will help defend against demonic entities. He also teaches online an introductory demonology course. Welcome, Bishop James Long.
Well, thank you guys. Appreciate you having me.
Wow, Jim, it would have been quicker just to say what you don't do.
Well, there's a lot. There's a lot that I still don't do that I still like to get my hands on, but I still got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, well, the thing of it is you've been on this show, After Hours AM, many times, and you're always a fan favorite, let's just be honest. But how do you feel about going to the Exorcist House? Are you nervous at all?
Well, first of all, I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate the fans and the support that you guys have. It's an honor to be here and talk to you today. And I tell you, the Exorcist House it's for someone like myself who's studied demonology all my life. I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to experiencing what could happen on a theological level, on a spiritual level. I hope nothing happens on a physical level to anyone. I mean, I don't want anyone getting hurt, but the element of danger is there. It absolutely, most certainly is there, and everybody there on set's they know, and they have to sign a waiver that this is serious stuff that we're dealing with, and that you may get attacked, and so everyone has to sign a waiver. This is not optional.
Now, do you believe? And I'm pretty sure I know the answer because evil just never truly leaves. I mean, it kind of goes into hiding once in a while. But do you believe that there is still evil lurking in this home?
I certainly believe there can be evil lurking in the home because we know that the child Rolando was, of course, the name, the story, and everybody knows about the story of the Exorcist, but Rolando was his name 66 years ago, and the family moved from Baltimore to St. Louis, and so he was in St. Louis, and he was under the stage of possession, and exorcisms were performed in that house on Rolando. So we know that infestation had occurred, because you have 3 stages to possession: infestation, oppression, possession. And it goes much more detail, but we won't go into all that. But the fact is, we know infestation occurred because he was under the stage of possession. So therefore, demonic infestation had occurred in the home. So I think once it leaves that mark in the home and the minor rite of exorcism has never been performed there, I think we certainly have to take into accountability that we could be walking into something really, really, really dangerous.
Now, this was the home that was... and the case that was the inspiration for the 1973 film The Exorcist. And so did you ever in your career have a chance to sit down with any of the members of that particular exorcism?
No, they're very quiet individuals, and quite honestly, they were very hard to reach. Now, I have been able to read The Exorcist Diary, which is phenomenal, that Christopher St. Booth, that they put together, the Booth brothers. I tell you, they did a tremendous job with that. When I was in the seminary, I studied a great deal of demonology books, possession books, as well as diaries from exorcists. But unfortunately, I shouldn't say diaries. They're more notes, that any exorcism absolutely have to have for an exorcism. But the notes, as far as these gentlemen know, I think it would be an honor to meet them. But I'm not, of course, past now. But I did not have the opportunity.
Now, I was going to say, wouldn't the notes be just a little bit more telling than the actual case study because you get their inner thoughts?
Sure, yeah. And you really dive, that's why I love the movie The Rite, because it really goes in depth of the psychological effects that an exorcist will really endure. Because I understand that when you're talking about demonic activity and under the stage of oppression, the demonic will attack you on a psychological level. And the psychological attacks are severe. They're very severe. And that's why it's trying to attack and destroy, eradicate your intellect. It makes you think you're going crazy. And the movie The Rite was really, I think they did a great job with showing through the eyes of an exorcist so that you can get the perception of what perhaps they may endure during performing an exorcism or working cases of demonic cases. So I think it was very well done.
Bishop Long, can you give us a little bit of the details of what goes into this minor rite that you will be performing in the house?
This is going to be very, very interesting situation because we're going to have a whole host of people there. Chip Coffey's going to be there with me. He's going to be assisting me on the minor rite of exorcism. We're going to have camera crews. So I'm really concerned. Normally, when I do the minor rite of exorcism, and I've done many of them, it's just us. It's just me and another person or two other individuals. That's it. And so I still have to worry, of course, about my own safety, but I have to worry about anyone who is participating in a ritual. Well, now I have a whole host of worries on my shoulder because I'm really, really seriously concerned about the camera crew and anyone who's going to be on set on Friday evening. But what I do basically is we're going to be starting in the boys' room, and we're going to start full force.
Wow!
I think the activity, you're going to see probably activity movement while we're doing this. I think you probably will see movement or evidence. It's very common when you're performing a ritual that activity will decrease in that room, increase in the other rooms. That's very common. Because obviously the demonic is leaving. The demonic is hiding. It doesn't want to be exposed.
Sure.
And so my job is to force the entity to manifest.
Okay, I can say this because we're actually pretty good friends. Jim, are you crazy? Are you nuts? Why would you do this? Go right to the heart of madness right away. Man, you are much braver than I am.
The thing is I'm not scared of death. Yeah. And so I have no fear of death at all, none. As a matter of fact, I look forward to the day where I can go see my mom again and my grandmother. So for me, I don't wish it upon myself any sooner than what God has intended, but I'm not afraid of it. And so therefore, no demonic entity has power over me because I'm not afraid of what they can do.
You have girded your loins.
Well, I'm not. See, the thing is, for me, is I'm not concerned about my safety. I'm not, and it's not arrogance. It's just because I'm not afraid of death. But I am very concerned about everybody else. I tell you, that has. I've talked to the producer. I've talked to the directors. I'm going to offer a blessing for everyone involved. And I'm just, just hoping that everybody walks away safe. That's all I want, is that everybody walks away safe.
Bishop, a question. You just brought up a really interesting point. How important is it that everyone there, all these various disparate people, the crew, the cast, you got all these people coming and going, it's pandemonium, I imagine. How important is it that all of those people present have a united front against this, that who do believe what's going on and are focused on it?
Well, and that's a great question, and I'll tell you, the producers and directors are phenomenal. They are phenomenal. I have met them. I have spent a lot of time with them discussing this, and these guys are very serious when it comes to the ritual. They are. I mean, I have never, ever in my life spoken to producers and directors who are more serious and respectful to this rite as these guys are. I mean, they're phenomenal. That's why I feel comfortable doing it, because they will not tolerate any nonsense during the ritual. None. And they have assured me that they're going to make sure that this ritual is sacred, that it's respected, and that people are going to be on the same page that I am of making sure you stand your ground, being safe, no provoking, no pushing, no doing anything that's going to cause or could cause harm to anybody, that I am in charge. when I start this ritual, nobody is allowed to push me to the side or, hey, we got to stop here, or can you act this? No one will do that. And I respect it greatly.
My question is there any danger, I mean, this has been brought up a couple times, to the viewing audience at home because, they're witnessing this firsthand and live. Is there any danger? Because as we know, collective consciousness is an extremely powerful thing. You get that many people focused on that house, that ritual, does that give power to anything, you or the evil entity?
It's a dangerous task, that we're doing, and I think that anybody that's under the stage of oppression, it should be careful. It's one of those things that this is we want to take the veil off of this and show people what the reality is, what the truth is, because I think that it's so surrounded by secrecy, and it should be to a point. The solemn rite absolutely should be, but the minor rite of exorcism should be educated, should be teaching people, hey, this is serious stuff, and so let's not play around with it. Let's not mess with it. And I think that anybody who is susceptible to possible, I think, the spiritual attachment or the belief that the spiritual attachment, they have to make that decision whether or not to watch it. I don't anticipate any issues, but really this is kind of a
viewer beware kind of thing.
I think so. I think this is, absolutely, and I think that it's a situation where it's your free will. We can freely choose to turn it on or turn it off, and if people are susceptible to that type of belief that it can persuade them to go one way or the other, they perhaps shouldn't watch it. But I don't anticipate it being a problem for anybody.
Viewer beware, you're in for a scare, huh?
I think that's a great, viewer discretion advised. And I think
exactly.
The viewer discretion, the viewer must make that decision for themselves.
Any thoughts on how all this got started in the first place? How did the demon or demons get into this house way back 60-some years ago?
Well, the belief is that Rolando, and a lot of people are trying to downplay it and say it's not true, and actually it really upsets me because Roland actually confessed to the priest that he had been playing with the Ouija board, the spirit board, and that when his aunt had passed away, he tried to make contact with her, that she introduced him to the spirit board, and then that's when all hell broke loose in the house of Baltimore. So we know from Roland's testimony to the exorcist that this is what happened, because there's a lot of people who are trying to downplay the spirit board, say, oh no, it didn't happen. Yeah, well, yes it did, because he confessed it to the priest. So that's where it started. It started playing with the spirit board, making contact with the spirit world, not knowing who you're contacting. All hell breaks loose in the house. Then you have infestation, all immediate, and oppression and possession. And he goes on the stage of possession. And then they move him to the St. Louis house. He's still on the stage of possession. And so therefore, when you have a demonic entity that is present, it's already infested the home. So infestation had already occurred.
So it's too late at that point. I mean, the hands are in motion.
Absolutely, yeah. It's already in motion because you have the person who's on the stage of possession. And if that's the case, the infestation is already there.
Very, very... Kind of scary, Jim. To be honest with you, very, very scary stuff. That's why I don't mess with that stuff.
And that's very wise. I think that's smart.
The old "don't go look for snakes if you don't want to find them" kind of theory and feeling.
And the thing is, and I think that's why people, when I say I'm not afraid of death, what that means is I am not afraid what they can do to me physically. And I know that when I walk into a place, I can be punched, hit, knocked down the stairs. I could have a heart attack, a stroke. So any of those things could happen.
No,
I'm aware of that, and I've accepted that reality.
Now, has there ever been a case of an exorcist succumbing during the exorcism and actually passing away because of the battle?
Yes.
So it is not without its risks. There is real risk involved.
Oh, most certainly. The risks are incredibly. Look, the physical risk and the long term. When I talk about attachment, when you're talking about attachment, you're talking about the stage of oppression here. Now, if you think about that for a second, demonic entities are very patient. And so if you have an attachment, that oppression is overwhelming. In other words, it will attack you on a physical level, on a mental level, constantly. I mean, your sleep patterns are completely eradicated. You're hearing screams, you're hearing noises, you're hearing bangs on the walls. It's not allowing you to sleep. You cannot even function during the day, and it's constant. And then it goes into the intellect, where you are seeing things, and you are hearing things, and no one else is hearing them. And you know that you're seeing them, and you're smelling them, your senses are heightened. It's driving you mad, and it is constant. It doesn't let up. And so basically your intellect and will is eradicated. You can't fight anymore, and you give up, and that's when you have possession.
How often does that happen? What are your thoughts on, by either just overall numbers or percentage of the population? I mean, how often does this kind of full-blown demonic possession happen to people?
Very rare. In 15 years, I have performed 27 exorcisms on people who are violently possessed. And we're not talking about people who are falling down, screaming, and acting a fool. We're talking about people who are very... Understand, when you're talking about possession, so in 15 years, I've only done 27, and we get hundreds of emails a week. So in 15 years, 27. Now, I have seen an increase in poltergeist activity. Because I'm a big data guy. I have a master's of education. Show me the data. What does the data show? So the data actually shows that 5 years ago there was a dramatic increase in poltergeist activity. And that's when the bubble burst. That's when people were losing their homes, losing their jobs, their pensions, everything. And poltergeist activity is energy that someone is omitting because they're going through extreme emotional distress. So fire, electrical appliances burning out, light bulbs burning out, heightened activity. A lot of people get that confused with demonic activity, and it's not. It has nothing to do with demonic activity, because if you remove that person who's going through extreme emotional distress, if you remove them from the home, the activity will subside dramatically. You still have that residual energy, but it's not as heightened. But if you bring them back into the home, the activity just explodes.
Because they're in.
Holy water and relics and things of this nature does nothing on it. So the only way to fix that problem is to get them the psychological help, the counseling that they need to reduce that emotional distress. We have seen an increase in poltergeist activity. Now we're seeing it decline, but certainly 5 years ago it was very heightened. But as far as demonic possession, we're talking they're very rare, 27 to 15 years. And when you're in the possessed state, usually it's a very calm situation in the beginning. I mean, the person is not under possession. There's transient possession and full possession. Transient possession is demonic entering the body and leaving at will. And full possession is when the demonic entity has full body, full control, non-stop of the body. And Roland Doe had transient possession.
And I got a quick question for you. I was doing some reading, and I talked to a couple of people in the paranormal. They're good friends of all of ours. And someone had mentioned the term perfect possession. And I never really explored that term before, but what does that mean when someone is perfectly possessed?
Yeah, the full possession, perfect possession, the same terminology.
Okay, same deal, just different names.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I have a difficult, painful question here. I believe you're familiar with the Constantinos, right?
Oh, sure.
Do you have any thoughts? There are those in the paranormal world who think that the tragedy that befell them both had something to do with their paranormal activity, and perhaps even going all the way into the demonic. Do you have any thoughts on that, on their situation?
No, the only thing that I'm going to say is that let's keep the family in prayers and continue to pray for them. And so it's a tragic story. I knew them both. I was friends with both of them. I cared deeply for them. And so the only thing that I would probably say in that situation is that I just ask folks to continue to keep the family in their prayers as they continue to struggle, obviously, with the loss, and just to continue to pray for them.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. But, we've talked a lot about possession tonight. How do we guard ourselves against possession? I guess would be the other question.
Well, don't provoke. Don't do anything. Don't jump into the cage shark. It's one of those things where I tell paranormal investigators all the time, be very careful. When you start provoking, look, if you go to a place that you know could have demonic infestation and you're beating your chest and saying, come on, demon, I dare you to show some. I told Zach all the time from Ghost Adventure, stop it. You got to stop it. Because don't you understand that while you're beating your chest and you're saying, come on, demon, do something, a demon is probably inches from your face and saying, I will.
Yeah.
I will when you're sick. I will when you're lonely. I will when your girlfriend or wife or husband leaves you. I will when you lose your job. That's when I will provoke back.
Oh, that just sent chills down my spine.
It really did, especially your tone of voice.
Because it's
spooky. You mentioned
true.
The original infestation, the door, came through the Ouija board or spirit board. So what are your overall thoughts? I would say fairly clearly you think it's dangerous. How is that different from some of these other tools?
And that's a terrific question, because anytime you have an immediate interaction, or you use any type, whether it be the flashlights, whether they turn on and off, or the digital recorders, or the EMF readers, anything at all, any tool that you use that gives you immediate communication with the spirit world is a portal. That's what the portals are. So there's a big term on portals and confusion on portals. Portal is any tool or space that you use to make communication or open the door to communication with the spirit world. Then that is a portal. So a Ouija board, the sole purpose of a Ouija board is to make communication with the dead or the spirit world. Now, the flashlight, if you're using the flashlight for the sole purpose of communicating, then that's not why the manufacturers created the flashlight. So they would say you're doing it wrong. But it doesn't matter. If you're using the flashlight as a tool to communicate with the spirit world, you might be able to communicate with something you don't want to.
Well, that's just it.
When that happens, what are you going to do then? Because once you open that door and you've opened that communication, believe me, a demonic entity is going to enter. I mean, if you're going to open the door, they're going to enter.
Oh, yeah. And they'll gladly enter.
Most certainly. And because that's a form of invitation. Mm-hmm. So now that you've invited that person, that's exactly what happened. I mean, incubus case. One of the worst cases I've ever worked in my life, where the person opened the door, the activity began, and this person was violently attacked.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that before. I had a good friend of mine, or an individual I knew fairly well, that he had a knock on his door at 3 a.m. every morning. And he looked at the people, and nothing would ever be there. He left, he never opened the door, but the following people that didn't move in did open the door. And they had nothing but trouble. It was like a floodgate of paranormal just opened up in their normally quiet home. So I think sometimes just by simply opening the door as it knocks, that would be kind of inviting it right in.
Yeah, and people say, well, that's not fair. You know, the demonic entities are unethical creatures. They're unethical beings. They don't play by the rules. They play just by their rules. And the thing is people ask me all the time, well, why do they possess people? What's the point? The point is not you or the possessed. That's not the point. The point is to hurt God. And how do you hurt God? By hurting the ones God loves the most, us. I mean, imagine, I don't know if you guys are parents, but if you're parents, the one thing that would throw you to your knees is if someone were to hurt your child. And it's the same way.
Exactly. We're both parents, so we definitely get where you're coming from on that.
We are multiple parents.
That's right. I got lots of kids. They can have one of them. Here.
I can't even remember how many kids I have.
How many children do you have?
I got 4. And Eric, you got 4. Yeah. So that would mean 8 we have to, so we have 8 between us. So yes, we're definitely good at making kids.
And you know what? And I'm sure you're both absolutely phenomenal with protecting them, and that's beautiful. And that's what demonic entities do. They violate that very connection you have with your own child, what God has to us. They violate that connection, and it's terrible because we got to keep in mind we always think about the possessed, but we also have to think about the family who's dealing with that true hell of watching their family members just decrease. I mean, everything is just eradicating in front of them. I mean, it's terrible. It is a terrible, terrible experience for everyone involved.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I have never had to come, knock on wood, close, face to face with the demonic, and I want to keep it that way.
Well, I can tell you, it's probably a bit different than you may think. I think it changes your life.
I can only imagine, because it shows you that other side that normally we don't have to deal with.
The time, I'll never forget it. I made a mistake the first exorcism I performed. The person was in transient possession, and then I continued, because the exorcist will provoke to force the entity to go in, to manifest itself through possession. And when I lift the eyelids, they were solid white. And I continued the prayer, and I lift them again, and there was just a blackness. Yeah. And the blackness is just, the only way I can describe it is almost a mirror. It's almost like you look, and the mistake is I looked, and it was just almost like in a trance state. I can't even describe it. You see the reflection of this blank nothingness, just darkness, just no soul, nothing. And I think that's when it becomes, real. When you see that, and you see nothing, just the absence of anything good.
Yeah. I mean, it must be like staring into the dark abyss.
That's the best way to describe it. But not only are you staring in the dark abyss, you see your own reflection. So it's trying to affect you as well. It's trying to affect you and try to give you the impression that this is you, that this is your life, that this is also, because it's affecting your intellect and will as well, just in that split moment. In that very split moment, it's attacking you on the intellect and your will. And it just gives you that impression that there's nothing. I mean, it puts you, it forces you into that mental state of utter depression.
Thank God there's people out there like you fighting the good fight and keeping all of us safe.
I'm just a clergy. I'm just a priest, and before a bishop, before anything, I'm just a priest. And if it wasn't for God, I'm just the tool. I'm just a tool, the instrument that God is using. I don't force anything out. It is God that's doing that work. God is using me and to do His will, and so I just continue to do that. And it's not me. It's nothing that I have. It's nothing that, no gift per se that I have that anyone else doesn't have. God just chooses to use me as an instrument to do that type of ministry.
Very, very well said. We got 2 minutes before break. Jim Long, what can people, again, Bishop James Long from, we're going to see him do his stuff live, Destination America, Thursday night. Was it 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. Central or Eastern?
Friday night.
Friday night. You're going to see that live. Now, can you tell the viewing audience that will be tuning in what they can expect to see?
Well, hopefully they're going to see me a very commanding presence. They're going to see a different bishop. Well, I'd like to joke around. I'm very easygoing, but when it comes to the minor rite of exorcism, they're going to see a different me. They're going to see a very commanding tone, demanding and commanding. They're going to see a very strong, staunch, stern. No frills, no playing around, no gaming, no any of that stuff. They're going to see a different side of me that they've never seen before, and I have to be, and that's just the way it is. And so, hopefully, they will see that the presence of God there that's going to be cleansing this home, and hopefully they will not see someone get hurt. But that is a very serious concern that I have right now.
And as well it should be. But everyone, Bishop James Long, he is the man, the real deal. Interviewed him many, many times right here in After Hours AM. Thank you so much for coming on, Bishop Long.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. You guys have a terrific Halloween.
You too, sir.
Blessings to all your listeners.
Oh, it sounds awesome. Again, James Long, everyone, make sure you tune in. Destination America, Friday night. You're going to see evil incarnate. Well, after the break, we're going to talk to Mr. Nick Groff right after this.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If pop culture is to be believed, roughly 40% of all people are actually vampires, or dating one. Well, undead or not, you can always save on a clean, comfortable room at Motel 6, even if you sleep during the day because direct sunlight turns you into a pile of sparkly coffee grounds. Speaking of which, we have free coffee every morning. You day sleepers may want to go for the decaf. I'm Tom Bodette, and we'll leave the light on for you. Book online at motel6.com.
Ghost Asylum as they drive out the demons from the actual house that inspired the movie The Exorcist. There's a gut feeling telling me to get the hell out. TV's most dangerous night. Exorcism Live. Friday, October 30th at 9. Exclusively on Destination America. Fear lives here.
Hi, I'm Kip Parker.
And I'm Charlie Parker.
And we're the Parker Brothers. Hey, Charlie, what's missing from our game catalog?
I don't know, Kip. Tell me.
Well, you can't talk to the dead.
You sure as hell can.
That's why we got this brand new game called Ouija.
Ouija? Well, break that down for me.
Well, it's Wii because you're having a great time, and G, it's because G, aren't you having a blast because you're having a good time with the Wii.
It looks like it smelled like a Chinaman got caught in there.
Don't question it.
Well, Ouija, Kip, tell me about it.
Well, inside the package comes a flat board with all the letters of the alphabet, numbers from 0 to 9, and a yes-no written out by itself.
Well, that sounds like a lot of stuff going on.
That's got a lot of stuff going on indeed, Charlie. It also comes with this planchette which hovers over the letters the dead are trying to tell you.
Well, how does that work, Chip?
Well, you ask the question, and then the dead move your hands in the direction of the answers.
That sounds like a heck of a way to find Grandpa's slave money.
Turns out it was in the attic. But the questions don't have to be as serious as slavery. You can also find out if Sally's got a crush on you. The dead like to answer all sorts of trivial questions.
Feels like they'd have better things to do with their time, Kip.
No, lost souls are lost forever, and they're really glad to help.
Well, gee, Kip, can't you just get any sort of board with numbers and letters and talk to the dead?
The dead prefer quality like anybody else. Quality you can only find at Parker & Parker.
The Ouija board, brought to you by the Parker Brothers, available in both white and colored wallworks. Separate but equal savings.
This Halloween, remember, some kids can't enjoy candy due to food allergies. That's why there's the Teal Pumpkin Project. You put out a pumpkin that's painted teal green. That way trick-or-treaters know that you're handing out things like stickers or glow sticks that are safe. But there are so many other dangers for children on Halloween night. Shouldn't we do more to make sure they're extra safe and healthy? That's why there's the Puce Pumpkin Project for vegetarian children. Just add a pumpkin in front of your door that's painted Puce. That means all the treats you're handing out are vegetables. Healthy Halloween! If you put out a magenta pumpkin, you show support of children who have been bullied. It's hard enough for them already. Don't make it worse for them on Halloween with scary decorations or spooky music. It could frighten them. And finally, the Seafoam Pumpkin for children whose parents don't believe in vaccines. We don't want them picking up easily avoidable diseases like measles, mumps, or chicken pox. Beware the Seafoam. And have a happy Halloween. Remember, if they can get past all the politically correct pumpkins barricading your door, you haven't kept them safe.
Welcome back to After Hours AM. No, just kidding. We're here to scare you some more. We just had Bishop James Long on the show. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Along with me,
Eric Olson.
Eric, man, what did you think about Bishop James Long? Did he not scare you just a little bit? My God, I almost pooped, to be honest with you.
I'll tell you, it is frightening stuff. If and we've talked about this many times. I sort of perceive the broadest version of the paranormal world as having these three corners. There's the paranormal, which is kind of neutral in terms of spirituality. There's the religious side, and then there's the scientific side. And if you open the door, in your mind, if you're a religious person, how can you not be afraid?
Well, you know, when he said, "I will get you," in that voice, that had me. I was like, okay, all right, I'm done. I'm never messing with Ouija boards, demons, or nothing. I'm walking away.
Think how tough, spiritually, you have to be.
Oh, the skin has to be so thick. But you know what? We're also blessed to have a second guest on. And who is that, sir?
the world-famous Nick Groff, who I haven't had the pleasure of speaking to now for a couple of years, actually since his book came out. I'm a huge, huge fan of Nick's. Nick has been fascinated with the paranormal ever since surviving a near-death experience as a child. He's been chasing ghosts for most of his life with the goal of finding new evidence of the afterlife and discovering a breakthrough in paranormal research. During the filming of a TV show at the Exorcist house in 2011, an evil entity attached itself to Groff. The weight of the negative energy affected him long after returning home, and he eventually had his home cleansed. Yes, that set many, many wheels in motion, as we understand it. And of course, Nick was a founding member, exec producer, one of the hosts of Ghost Adventures. He has broken away from that path and is on his own path now. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you, guys. How you been?
Good, man. Good. I'm glad everything is working out great for you. I mean, you're also a good friend of ours, so we always like to see our friends do great. But, man, I got to ask you, are you crazy? I mean, I love you with all my heart. You know that. But are you nuts for going back?
Yeah, you know, I think I have a little couple of loose screws up in my head. Some people tell me sometimes because I like to go to the most extreme haunted locations, not for the thrill. Yes, I'm a adrenaline junkie, but at the same time, I like to experience stuff personally because I have my own personal questions in life. You know, I'm a soul seeker. I'm looking for answers beyond just dying, and I think sometimes you have to put yourself into those situations, into the heart of extremely haunted locations, sometimes more negative than positive. And I think that's where you get some of the most profound experiences, you know, paranormal and unknown-wise, where you just can't explain things. I'm a logical thinker, so in order to experience stuff, I have to really put myself into those situations to see firsthand and feel it, hear it, see it, you know, rather than just documenting, you know, an evidence as a paranormal investigator. So I went to the Exorcist house, you know, back in 2011, years ago, and I had one of the creepiest experiences. You know, I grew up watching the Exorcist movies, so Hollywood's funny. They just take the concept of real stories and then they like fictionalize it big time. So they blow it out of the water with heads turning around and puking green blood, and you know, the creep and the thrills of watching movies. But there is a realism to it, and after I experienced it at this one location when I investigated, you can feel the negativity that just is still lingering at this location. So I was that guy who kind of gave the warning to the other people that are going there, you know, be cautious of some of these things that happened to me and what to expect going back to this location for what they're doing for the Exorcism Live show on Destination America. I'm not going to be there. I won't be a part of it, but I'm more that guy giving the warning. You know, I'm that red blinking light at the stop sign saying stop.
Be careful.
So
yeah,
that's kind of me.
Well, you know, are there currently inhabitants in this home that live there on a day-to-day basis?
I'm not sure right now. I haven't been back there since 2011, so I don't remember. When we were there, there was somebody staying there, but they left. So when I investigated, there wasn't anyone in the location at the time because they were away while we were investigating. But I mean, what I captured there was absolutely amazing. The weirdest coincidence of using the spirit box at the time, we set it on a Ouija board upstairs in that where the boy was exercised in the real case up in his room. And the spirit box was coming through, and there was nothing. It was all static. It was just scanning frequencies, you know, typical. And I'm kind of wary too of the spirit box, but I was sitting there and talk about coincidence, but you hear the words Diablo and Devil come through.
I remember. I just remember. I happened to catch in prepping for the interview because I watched on Netflix again that particular episode, and it was crazy, and it was a scary episode. I mean, you could feel it just as a viewer, the tense.
Right.
I mean, it just oozed it right through the screen.
You know what's weird is, like, right before that happened, too, I felt this immense energy and it wasn't positive. It was more like, back up, get away. And that's where I got off the bed, and I, like, put my back against the wall. And you'll see a lot of paranormal investigators who are more sensitive to, like, energies and stuff do that through the years. I started recognizing it. And what happens is his energy tries to tap in through your spinal, your back. So sometimes I'll put my back against the wall to stop that from happening, and that's why I backed up to the wall in that episode, because I just felt like that rush in the room, just an energy burst. And then that's, when those words came through, and talk about coincidence or whatever, but that was pretty freaking creepy.
That was creepy. Yeah. It's creepy. I know, Eric, you've seen that episode as well, and it's just darn right creepy.
Oh, yeah. Well, it brings to mind kind of an underlying factor here in the development, the evolution of Nick. And what we see over the years is you went from being this very brash young guy, yes. Really just balls out, just crazy, bring it on, to,
right.
I know you got married, I know you had a child, and your perspective really changed, and you became someone who is much more cautious, and I think you've been very brave to allow that part to show, because others are still kind of approaching it from the, shall we say, more youthful and brazen approach than yourself.
Right. Well, I'm always about pushing the boundaries, because you live once in this world, in the reality that we're living in these bodies. I mean, the fact is we're all going to die someday. That's a fact. Doesn't matter what your beliefs are. But the other fact behind that is we produce some sort of energy in our body, which is a scientific fact. So when the body dies, where does that energy go? Right? So I believe that energy lingers, multiplies, stains a location, or stays and inhabits some sort of location, intelligent or residual.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're dealing with a lot of negative and positive energies that inhabit atmospheres and locations, and we haven't discovered something new yet. It's same redundant theories over and over with paranormal investigating, right, throughout the years. But for me, I feel like my mind is so expanded now that I'm such a deep thinker that I'm starting to theorize and think even more, talking to several different people that are very professional in the industry that are good friends of mine, that now I'm starting to think outside the box of, okay, if science can't discover it, where can we look now that's different, and trying to revolutionize the way paranormal is done. And I believe with the new thing that I'm doing from my new show coming up, that we're going to have that groundbreaking evidence and that groundbreaking something that we're going to discover that science hasn't actually said, okay, we can scientifically prove it this way.
Sure.
Science says it doesn't exist because we can't prove it yet. So I think there's so many things that are unknown in this world that we're living in, that it's just so vast that we haven't gotten to that point yet where we're evolved enough with technology and our own personal well-being, our sensitivity. We just get closed mind sometimes on certain topics, where it becomes like, this is The Exorcist, this is, demons and all this crazy stuff. It's not all like demons and crazy like things. I think stuff gets stained from negative. Yes, I do believe that there's something that evolves into something more sinister, which we label as demons and hell and all this crazy stuff. And yes, I do have high hopes for like a better well-being. There has to be something better than just dying, like a heaven as we depict it, or something that's just even higher power. So I believe in all these things, but at the same time, we have to be cautious with what we're doing, because locations like the Exorcist house have such a negative stained, like the foundation, the floor, the wood, everything becomes stained from this negative energy that was being drawn off of this boy who was actually possessed. Real story. So, my first steps into that location and up that staircase to the top floor, I felt that negative dread. You just feel it when you walk in the house, this kind of lingering aftermath of this just whatever is there, that negativity that's stained, that is lurking and waiting to latch onto somebody else to inhabit like a body or mess mentally with your mind.
Do you ever?
It's very scary.
Do you ever feel like, as an investigator, you're almost going into the spider web?
Yeah,
that you're the bait that's waiting. Yeah, it's waiting for you, like a spider waiting in a web. Here they come.
That's what I felt with Exorcist House. I knew about this location years before even going there. I researched it. I convinced our whole crew to go there when we investigated it. It was a big process, and I really wanted to go there for some reason. And we went there, and it just became exactly what you said, a cobweb. Like, I got caught up, so fascinated with the location and so Like, I needed to learn more information. And I feel like what happened to me when I left that location, I started to have these nightmares of this dark entity, this figure that started throwing me around, physically harming me in my nightmare. And what's so creepy about this is I woke up the next morning and all my family member, the guys I was with investigating, everybody was text messaging me saying that they just had a nightmare overnight of me in the dream getting thrown around and being harmed by a negative entity at that location. Now, to me, that just validated what the heck.
Yeah, that would make me, that'd pique my interest, to say the least. What now, guys? You were having this dream about me being... Wow, that's a wake-up call.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I started being more cautious. This location, honestly, it was previous locations where I started understanding more through personal experiences, stuff that I wasn't more, like you talked about, I was more that kid who said, lock me in a morgue, for an hour, or put me in the most haunted spot. Like, I'm one of those guys, like, I fear nothing. Like, that's my problem, is I don't fear anything, except now that I've experienced a little more in life, now that I'm grown up and more mature, the one thing I fear is negative energies. Yep. Attaching itself to your own body, your own well-being, and trust me, it's a real thing. It can disrupt your own life and mentally break you down and disrupt your health physically. And if you don't ground yourself up and take precautions, you can really do more harm to yourself than anything.
Now, how would somebody go about kind of grounding themselves and taking those precautions?
See, it took me a long time to figure that one out, too, because I used to tell people you have to find your own thing that particularly works for you. It could be religion, it could be faith, it could be a pendulum or some sort of jewelry or sage. And what I found with me is I never really saged or did anything like that. You know what I mean? Because I was just, like, more logical about certain situations where I have to, like, see it on my equipment or validate or have a personal experience to say, wait a second. Yep. That woke me up. That's a little more coincidence than anything. So until this negative situation happened to me, and this was a while ago, last fall, actually, it was pretty recent. Last fall, I had all these negative things start happening to me, and I realized that I possibly started having some negative lingering after effects follow me home. My wife and stuff, we started noticing stuff happening in our house that was more weird than usual, and usually I'm just like, whatever, block it off. And I started noticing different things in my basement started happening. And I have my office in my basement, so I would go there, and I felt like there was a presence following me, where it almost startled me a couple times in my own house, And
that would be the worst.
And it's weird because my house is new. There's nothing haunting about it. You know what I mean? There's no, like, history or anything like that. So my first intuition is, okay, something followed me home. The old saying, is it possible? And now I say, yes, it is, because I had a really close friend of mine who I trust dearly, who is a medium and very sensitive and can pick up on energies and kind of like, sage them out and whatnot. So I had her come over, didn't tell her anything. And first thing she says, she walks in my basement, she goes, you have all this negative energy inhabiting this one corner of your basement. I'm like, okay, same old thing I've heard.
Yeah.
Now, what blew my mind is she goes, you have this one guy, his name is Rodney, pacing back and forth from one side of the basement to your office, and he's guarding you, protecting you from the negative energies to hurt you. And I said, that's so crazy. This guy she depicted said he had an old cowboy hat, gun, everything. He's my old neighbor from Las Vegas. Nobody knows this. I don't know how she would know this.
That's wild.
And I would expect my grandparents or my grandmother to protect me from, like, evil, right? Because they passed away and I was very close with them. She goes, no, it's not always your grandparents or it's somebody like that. This guy who I became really good friends with before he passed away, and it's right after I moved away from Vegas, he passed away. And I was very close with him because I would help him. Like, he was in a wheelchair. I would talk to him every day. And we became really close friends before his end of his life. And she said that he feels like he owes something to you because of what you did when he was living, so he's here to protect you, which I thought was very strange.
Yeah, good karma, man. It helps to be friends of your neighbors, huh?
Know your neighbors, I guess.
That's right.
But
You got this Vegas gunslinger protecting you on the East Coast in the basement.
I know. It's so creepy. I've never told anybody this story until recently. I started talking about it because it was just so mind-blowing for me to wake up a little bit and say, okay, you know, these things are real. These things do happen. It was just surreal, you know. It was just like so many emotions rushing through my body.
Yeah.
Knowing that my neighbor was there, who I was very close with. I cared dearly for him. He's there protecting me from this negative energy that I'm bringing home from locations or whatever. That's kind of, it's like a sponge. I'm a sponge that just draws up these energies, and it sticks with me sometimes. So to answer your question, we saged my whole entire house. Sage your house, use sage, burn it, and go to every single corner of your house. It's just not wave it in the air and be done. It's you have to smoke your whole entire house with sage. Every corner, every room, every part of your house, and then let it just linger a little bit, and then open the windows and let all that smoke go out. So it's like dragging all that negative energy out.
So pretend Cheech and Chong stopped by for a party. Smoke it up, get the house nice and smoky, open up the windows, and let it, and just let it go. Just let it take the negative with it. That's really good advice.
And the other thing she said to do, and I actually started realizing positive things started happening in my life right after I started doing this, is she said, put salt on the floor bed of your shower, and then when you're taking a shower, just plant your feet in that salt, and just ground yourself out, and just think positive, and let all that negative energy and negative, it's like, you know, like taking a shower, you rinse all the dirt off you. It's the same scenario. And salt is supposed to ground your aura, your body, and get rid of all that negativity. And I started doing that a couple times, and it's very simple. Like, these are simple things. You don't have to think really hard on them. And it honestly, man, like, all these positive things started happening in my life, and I just felt good. I felt uplifted. I felt re-energized, I guess is the best way to describe it. I felt like I could think finally, and I wasn't so foggy and distraught, and wasn't so, like, that lingering depression or anything like that. Everything just felt good again. So those are the two things I did.
Man, good advice. Everyone out there, give it a try. You know, it just might help. And you know, like Nick said, people have different things that do, I mean, whatever you kind of believe in, too. But still, give it a try, because I firmly believe that sage and earth elements do cleanse us.
Yeah, it's been around for generations, you could possibly imagine. It probably dates back to Native Americans and whatnot, where they're very spiritual. So this isn't something new or gimmicky. It's something that's natural and something that's been inhabiting this world forever. I just think that sometimes you have to question and try things in life for yourself to see changes. And I'm all about positive, and I love seeing people feel good and succeed and do well in their life. And I've been through the rut. You know, I've been through the nitty-gritty and been at the lowest of the lows. So I can speak from experiences. I'm not here to change people's minds, but I'm here to help in general.
Nick, we have millions, and we're not kidding, we're not exaggerating, millions of fans who are literally, as we speak, holding their breaths. Can you hear them? To hear about your brand new project coming to Destination America. Tell us what you can, please.
I'm really excited. It feels so good. This project, I feel, is going to revolutionize the way paranormal is done. I feel like it's my second baby coming to light, where everything that we're going to do is going to be so different in the paranormal field. And I'm about to up the bar, I guess you could say, going back to my roots, going back to what I know best, and teaming up with a lot of great people in the paranormal industry. So you're going to see something that's going to be groundbreaking. Now, my goal is I'm searching right now, personally, TV show or not. I'm in a soul-seeking situation where I'm looking for answers beyond just the grave. I feel that there's so much more that is unknown in this world, in this reality, that we can discover as a community, as a paranormal community, or just people fascinated with the paranormal, that we can, as a team, as together, discover something that hasn't been discovered yet, that is known as an unknown phenomenon. So I feel that we're going to be the first, I feel, to maybe discover something that hasn't been discovered yet. So I'm really excited. Without giving too much away, I'm in broad strokes right now because Destination America on October 30th is going to give a little tease about what's to come. You're going to see a little bit about, you'll hear about the title, you'll hear who I'm teaming up with, and you'll see basically a little tease of what's to come on Destination America. We're shooting all the episodes right now, and I've been going to some of the most extremely haunted locations that I've researched. I just got into a location that I've been trying to get into for 15 years. This predates my other show.
Mm-hmm.
So I was looking at this location for 15 years, and I finally was able to get into it, and it is just, it's epic.
Wow.
I
can't wait.
The number one word I can say.
I can't wait to watch it.
To share it.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch it. I'm really, really interested.
When does the show go on the air?
So we'll be releasing more information on DestinationAmerica.com, and you can keep checking my social media pages. We're going to put the dates up very soon because right now we're filming throughout the rest of the year. So we will be posting more of the information, the air dates, everything very soon. But stay tuned. During the Exorcism Live, you'll see like a little tease and what's to come. During that show, you can kind of see a little brief snippet.
Well, Nick, I got to ask you, that all aside, with the real live exorcism going on and you knowing how serious it is and how serious it can be, do you feel in any way scared for the people that are actually going into this home to actually do this exorcism? And do you have any words of caution for the viewers out there?
Yeah, I think, you got to protect yourself in some way. Whatever your faith is, you got to really stand true, positive to your own well-being. I think sometimes when you let your guard down and you let evil get the better of you, that's when things can attach and hurt you. If you're strong, if you're mentally strong, it has nothing really to do with physicality. You don't have to be the strongest guy in the world. I think that you just mentally you just have to be strong in general, because going into those situations, you're conjuring up something that we don't fully understand yet. And the problem is, you could be using a digital recorder, any type of device. You could be communicating with something on the other side that you possibly might think you know who you're communicating with, but at the end of the day, you really don't know who you're talking with. So that's where it gets really scary, I feel, because I've been through that experience, and I know what it's like. Just be cautious when you leave the location, because it's the aftermath, it's the lingering side effects that you might not realize it at first, but maybe your family members or your friends or whoever's around you might start saying, hey, you're a little bit different now. So be very cautious, and make sure you use precautions about saging is a good example. When you leave the location, and try to close that door behind you and forget about it. Don't keep engaging it.
Good advice.
Whatever that negative is.
Good advice, Nick. We have a minute left of the show. I just want to say thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for sharing all that advice with everybody. And also thank you for sharing the advice to be cautious as well. First and foremost, use caution.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I really appreciate it, guys, and I appreciate all the support you have given me through the years, and it means a lot to me. And I'm really excited about my new show, so I can't wait to announce more information. Just keep checking my social pages, and when I do, I'll come on and back on your guys' show, and we can talk all about the evidence that I collected. You got to see, I just captured some crazy evidence at that location I was just at.
Oh, now you're piquing my interest. Uh-oh. Yes,
so
we will
really
definitely.
Good. I've never seen it before.
We will definitely have you back on, because I'm an evidence junkie. But Nick Groff, thank you so much for coming on After Hours AM, and we'll talk real soon.
Thanks, Nick.
All right, guys. Take care.
Great
Thank
talking
you.
to you. Huge fan.
You too.
On behalf of myself, Mr. Eric Olson, thank you for listening to the edition of After Hours AM, and happy Halloween. Keep it safe, keep it fun, and be scared. Thank you for listening to this edition of After Hours AM, and please remember to like us on Facebook and also follow us over on Twitter.